Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to our CloudCom Summit virtual podcast. I'm really pleased today to welcome Anand Bush from Sapiens. Hi, Anand.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Last week we had the CloudCom Summit virtual, which was really interesting. You were sponsors there and also spoke. We're going to get into some of the trends we're seeing and the things we heard a bit about there and yesterday and get your take on them. But first, I just wanted to, there may be a few people out there still who haven't heard of NetSapiens. I doubt it, but there might be a few. Maybe you could just spend a couple of minutes just introducing yourself and what NetSapiens do.
Sure, absolutely. Again, Matt, thanks. Look forward to speaking about the CCS event. Again, thank you for you and your team for putting on, given the circumstance, putting on a wonderful event last week. So again, Anand Butch, thanks for having me, Matt, CEO and co-founder of NetSapiens. In a nutshell, what we do is we provide a platform, a software platform for service providers to then turn around and offer competitive UCaaS, collaborative, and voice and video type solutions to end users. So again, our core platform, is available in a variety of different kind of deployment models. But ultimately, what we do is we offer that platform as a very customizable platform to service providers, of which today we have about 170 plus service providers, predominantly in the United States, but now starting to grow internationally as well. And across those service providers, we're probably covering a little bit more than 1.4 million seats in the marketplace.
And you've had quite a bit of growth in the last year or so on that as well. So it sounds like it's going really well.
Yeah, no, it's we're very fortunate. Yes, thank you.
So last week we heard about some trends at the event. I just want to reflect on a little bit of what we heard and get your kind of take on it. We heard a lot about obviously the growth in a global growth in home working and collaboration as a couple of the key trends which happened down to this pandemic. But I was wondering kind of how you've seen those trends within your business, and if there's any others really that you've kind of reflected on. We heard about last week that you think are going to be important to the market?
Well, so it's interesting, Matt. I think we all saw this kind of collaborative wave coming in 2019 and in the first quarter of 2020, and then, quite frankly, it was obviously just a massive acceleration when the pandemic hit, and so our forward-looking development on the platform, our programs and products, and even the asks from our service provider community were all much more revolving around having the flexibility and the choice to basically work from anywhere. And so whether it's a mobile device, whether it's a web-based, browser-based solution for messaging or chatting or video or voice, I think that evolution was happening already. And then the reality is what we're seeing now is quite frankly, there were a lot of folks that, were on that journey already with respect to moving to cloud-based solutions to offer to their end users. And that just got massively accelerated because of the pandemic. And we see that. We see that in the growth numbers. For example, we've seen our ratio of devices to users. And what I mean by that is, one account and the amount of devices that are attached to that one account has, significantly grown here in the first half of this year. Obviously, for reasons for work from home and remote work and whatnot. And then the other piece of this is that I think people that were in the mode of looking at what to do with respect to these types of solutions or didn't have contingency plans for these types of situations are now looking at, in a way, insurance policies to say, boy, we have to have this today, but boy, we were really left exposed because we did not have cloud or remote solutions. And so we need to have those in place sooner than later as we go forward.
That kind of trend was interesting because we saw that happen, and I was interested whether it happened the same way with you guys, but we saw kind of enterprises just before lockdown rush to get the best solution, or not necessarily the best solution, sometimes the closest solution, if you like.
Yeah.
They rush to kind of to solve the problem. And that could be or could be go to cloud, which was obvious solution, but it might be extending their existing PBX, call forwarding, all sorts of intermediary measures. And then we sort of saw in most places a kind of not hiatus, but a period when nothing really happened after that for a while because everybody's rushed. We got into lockdown, and then we're hearing in different markets as maybe states or geographic markets in countries come out of lockdown, kind of a sudden rush, as you say, to get the right solution so they're not in that situation again. I mean, I'm based in the UK, and as you know, and we kind of come out, and now it looks like we might be going in. So there's been quite a lot of activity, I think, to make sure we're not in that situation again. And that's kind of what you were reflecting on there a bit, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and actually, that's a very good point. I mean, that's why you saw the massive uptick in folks like Zoom and Microsoft, Google, for that matter. I think that first that first wave was, hey, let's just fire something up so that we can try to get back to work and do the best we can. And then there's this second wave of is this the right solution if this is going to be a sustained exercise?
Yeah, and I guess alongside of that, we're probably seeing resellers and service providers reconsidering their platform approach maybe as well in terms of what they've been offering to the market. Obviously, we've been seeing a big uptake in as you've seen, as you mentioned, in cloud. But I guess there's a number of resellers who are, and maybe service providers caught a bit on the hop as their enterprise customers came to them for appropriate home working solutions, and then the sales may not have even had may not have deployed the proper solution. So within that, I guess there's still those choices of do we build something new, do we buy as you mentioned, buy the software and capability from yourself, or do we go to one of these people and resell a managed service? Have you seen any sort of I don't say rush purchases because that would be the wrong word, but people sort of waking up as a result of this, and how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, no question. I think a wake up call is a good way to put it. Obviously, and it's interesting to speak kind of very objectively. If I look at the opportunities that we have, and as we are in the business of providing a platform, and it's an alternative platform to building your own or going to now really the other biggest two players are Cisco and Microsoft. After the acquisitions of Metaswitch and BroadSoft. But what we're finding, interestingly enough, is that there is a rush to go, okay, let's have a future-proof platform that is going to allow us to do this. At the same time, there were a number of people that were deep into discussions with us when this happened, and definitely accelerated the process for them to say, okay, we really need to put an application in place. Now, with our existing clients, there was definitely a lot of rush, I would say, rush buying for people to say, gosh, I know you have all of these these remote working solutions already. I just never had deployed them. Can we get them deployed and deployed very, very quickly? Obviously, there was a lot of uptick in added options to our existing platform, and you see that happening in terms of our pipeline as well. People trying to say, okay, hey, I have an existing platform that's built on an open source solution. I've historically been okay developing applications on top of that platform, but now I don't have time because the market is asking for this stuff now. So instead of developing my own application on top of an existing platform, I want to go to a platform provider that gives me this stuff out of the box.
So we've seen it, the enterprise then kicking through to the resellers and service providers, and them thinking about that. And one of the things, I guess, not wanting to advertise your wares completely, but one of the is kind of unique that I've seen from you guys is the channel approach on the commercial side here. So there's a few people around the world who do it, but I think you're one of you're probably the main people who brought this concept to market, which enables, I guess, service providers and resellers to maybe not build their own platform, but have more commercial control of the offers they're putting out there. So, I mean, maybe you just you give us a minute on that approach.
I appreciate that. And again, our, not like you said, not to make this, a pitch about our model. However, the main concept behind this is to your earlier question is really allowing these service providers to have the agility and the flexibility, and these resellers to have the agility and flexibility to control their business model and have all of the levers in bringing something to market that can address a vertical, because even with the pandemic, right, each vertical has had to handle this very, very differently. And even though everybody goes work from home, it depends on the needs and the requirements. Some of the smaller verticals that were in the outdoors markets, the landscapers and the plumbing companies and so on and so forth, were already kind of used to being in that mobile environment. So those use cases changes. And so again, what we've always kind of put at the core is what these resellers need, and it's as many levers as they can so that they can maintain a sustainable business, maintain margins, and go from there. So yeah, to your point, I mean, we sell capacity. That's really the way to look at it. Instead of saying, okay, Mr. Service Provider, Mr. Reseller, if you are going after 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 100,000 end users that need UCaaS functionality, then you should have the ability to decide how you want to price and package those things, and should not be beholden to the cost of a particular seat, because the usage of that seat may be very, very different. There are, folks, as I talked about earlier, are looking to just add more remote devices, but those remote devices in some cases may not be used. Now you're at work from home, but you're not using your office as much, but you still need a device there, but your utility and usage may have stayed the same. So the notion of charging somebody for another device when the utility of that device or the value of that device has not really changed, it kind of shifts the value balance. And so, again, that's just something that we've been very sensitive to from day one. And the pandemic is actually kind of, if you will, accelerated that notion or highlighted that even more, is the flexibility to have as many devices out there without having to worry about this per seat cost, because not every single device might be used the same way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I hadn't thought of that angle to it actually, but I guess as people have gone home, they're still only going to use a similar amount. They're just using it from different locations, so a similar amount of capacity as but they might be using a tablet in their home office rather than a fixed phone in their office, or a mobile phone. So therefore, the capacity is the same, but they just want, so from a reseller point of view, they can still package that how they like. So did you see resellers or your guys bringing out home working packages specifically, or?
Yeah. So what we saw, at least here, when things hit, as I mentioned, we have quite a few. Most of our providers are in the U.S., but step one, everybody as a group got together and first wanted to just keep everybody, their businesses, if you will, or their customers running, right? So that was step one, just continuity. And in that scenario, that was something that they were able to do very flexibly with our platform too, when they went in and said, look, we're going to give you, N number of months grace on usage. We're going to give you free service for some period of time so that we can keep business continuity going. That was kind of step one. And then step two, yeah, I mean, people absolutely started putting together truly kind of remote working packages that include some amount of video, some amount of calling, free access to certain things. We had folks that for first responders and for essential businesses, folks that are on the front line fighting the pandemic, we had clients go out and offer very low cost or even free services to help the cause, if you will. But again, all these things are doable when you have a adjustable model from a commercial standpoint, so that you can offer these types of things in a sustainable manner.
Great. Well, that's been a really interesting chat about what happened during COVID, and introducing kind of the trends we're seeing and you're seeing in your reseller base. Pulling on what we had a great session at the event together, talking about channel as well. If people want to find out more about what was spoken about at the event, the recordings will be available and are available if you come through our website. And I just wanted to thank you again for being a sponsor, but also for spending some time today with us reflecting on what is a really changing market at the moment. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Matt. And again, thanks for your team to put on a great show last week.